let's kind of switch gears here to another, just these two topics just in general are all over LinkedIn right now. So I really want to kind of dive into them. Jared had a post and he just talks about, right, there's a lot of community acquisition going on right now in the SaaS space. And it's really that, right? Communities are really like where growth is going to occur. Like it's the next like marketing focus. Get out of the short-term metrics, focus on building a community, build an engaged community. And maybe when you think about growth, as we just talked about, like that's the key to growth right now. I actually even saw another post from the CTO of HubSpot. He's on LinkedIn, who actually coined the phrase community-led growth. So this clearly people think this is becoming a thing. So this is a great topic to kind of dive into. And Jorgen, why don't you kick this one off?
I love this. The companies that I admire are real brands with real communities, right? Like who doesn't love that? That is amazing. When you see that and you see somebody who was invested from day one saying, we are truly going to build a community and we might even do it brick by brick, hand-to-hand combat, right? Like that's so awesome. Now, community in the context of selling B2B SaaS stuff now means more than just like having a bunch of people who like your brand, right? There's all the review sites and all this stuff, right? And the thing that happens in my head, though, as I continue to think about this is that are we really supposed to, as marketers, like primarily be focused on building communities around our B2B SaaS offerings? Like, is this truly, like there was a post that says, I'm like, the new playbook is, there's a new playbook in town and it's called community. Like, okay, yeah, let me shift all my activities and let me just build the community, right? What the fuck does that even mean? This is really funny actually to me now. But like
the Dr. Pepper's getting to him, everybody.
Zero. Come on now, like this is strong stuff. No, but really it's like, what is a practical marketer to do at a fairly regular, it's the same conversation about what's ideal and what's awesome and what do we admire, and then what do most of us end up doing?
You know, I think that you see examples of fantastic communities. Salesforce, you see Marketo, HubSpot, like these giant companies have great communities. But the reality is for 95% of SaaS companies, community building is just not possible. I mean, I think of my community, it's developers and product. Like, they don't want to hear from us. They know that community is just going to be another place for us to sell them shit, you know? And so it's just impossible, and it's going to be a waste of time. So I think that, like, if you're trying to, like, grow this community, there's two kind of things that you can do. If it's demand generation, you really need to tap into the communities that buy your, you know, that you have your buyers do professional development for, or they go to for information. You know, if your goal is customer experience or increasing, you know, your customer retention, have a badass user con, treat your customers well, hire great customer account managers. And sure, if you get this great community at your user conference, make a LinkedIn group or something, but don't invest a full-time hire into something that's just going to be a waste of your time, because most people can see through that. And it's just sad but true, but nobody wants to hear from you until they're in pain. And definitely nobody wants to join your community, even when they're in pain, probably. So
yeah, I agree. Maybe the larger theme here, so I don't go too in depth, is as we look at both these topics, it just really depends, right, on so many variables. Like your audience is different, your life cycle is different, like your product's different. Like maybe a community building does make sense, right? But it's a lot harder in some other areas. And I think we can go back to even like what we just talked about. And it's just a good way to kind of wrap up, I think, both these topics, right? Is, you know, if you're really strong in a sales-led org, like maybe marketing influence and actually looking at that makes a ton of sense, right? Like there's just, I think that's kind of where people read these blanket statements on LinkedIn. And I think kind of maybe today's like podcast, whatever, it's like really about that. Like, your life cycle is different. Your growth goals are different. What your experiences is different. Like, as you kind of look at some of this stuff, is just make sure it's right for you, right? Measure what matters to you and do what matters to your buyers.
I mean, it's like I saw a LinkedIn post. Okay, let's hire somebody to build a community. This sounds like a great idea. But I mean, I know I came from academia and we had great user conferences with these giant senses of community, and people would say, hey, please create a community. And still, it was difficult for people to contribute online and to engage that way. So it's something that's a lot harder to do than people make it sound.
Awesome. That's great. We got another one in the books. This is episode 3, so I think we got to do episode 4.
More investment.